The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Paula Ewell and Otto Lowe's. And we're jumping right back in with Supervisor Jennifer DeSena, all about what's been going on in the town of North Hempstead. Before the break, we were doing some renovation updates that were, and then that's what I have to say about North Hempstead. I'm always blown away by the amount of parks that are there, and when we've had the Parks Department on the show, I'm always shocked because, you don't realize there's so many little hidden ones in each area. And I think it's just so nice that, you've prioritized, making it a space for people to enjoy. And, as an outdoor lover, I just think that's such a special thing. So also, is there some upcoming renovations? I was reading about Fushillo and so are those scheduled to occur in the next year, or how's that work?
So for Shillow, we completed a few of the outdoor projects. That was also an amazing splash pad. We redesigned it. There used to be a hockey rink there, and it really wasn't used. Well, that's because it wasn't used. Yeah. And so now it's a beautiful splash pad with benches and tables right next to it. Again, great. A place where you could bring your grandchildren and sit and eat while the kids play. Right. Also in Fushillo is a playground that is accessible for the physically disabled. It is, this is a place where a child in a wheelchair can still go in there. Everything is designed so they can get in and they can get close. Right. Fushillo has had a real wonderful facelift there. Now the park is being renovated. It's new turf going in there, and there's another park in Carl Place, Asbury Park, getting new turf. We have new turf going into Camera Park, and I believe there is one more. We finished some new turf in the Tully Dog Park, but this was able to be done with ARPA money. So that's all great. These fabulous renovations without taxpayer expense, so which is wonderful.
Those two parks, are they both in Carl Place?
Asbury Park and another softball field, yes, are both in Carl Place.
Right.
Oh, 8th and Asbury Ball Field.
Yes. We are about parks. That's people very often moved to North Hempstead, coming from the city because they had kids. That's why I moved to North Hempstead. I was having my first. Yeah. And the parks are the places where people go to make memories.
Yeah.
Yes. And the concerts. I love the concert seasons. I miss that already. But it's a place where you can meet friends, you can meet family, people from all ages, all things are free there. Yeah. So that's another reason we love partnering with Northwell and having these medical information there, because it's free. Yep. You can go there.
Wonderful.
And even the events that you do through Project Independence, when we have Catholic Health's bus or Northwell's bus, you can get your blood pressure checked. I mean, I even had a skin screen, screening for cancer.
Yeah. A lot of people attended that, which was nice to say, because it was SDGM, and I actually saw lines of people.
Yes, and it was at Manor Haven. Yeah. So now you didn't have to make an appointment. Right. You don't have to pay your deductible. You're getting free preventative care, and preventative care, that's what saves you a lot of money. So our parks are, what make North Hempstead beautiful. Obviously, sometimes when people ask me about my job, I say, it's not all that other stuff that people talk about in politics.
Right.
It's parks and roads.
Yeah, right.
It's quality of life. Right.
There's one on here that probably most people haven't got a clue what it is. It's the Webster Avenue Bridge.
Okay.
I lived on Lindbergh Street and looked at that bridge every day. Right. It was right down in the corner there. And I was surprised to read that bridge is over 100 years old.
Yes, and guess what? It's going to reopen on Monday,
Right.
Oh,
ahead of
But
schedule.
it used to go, it goes right over the Long Island Railroad.
Yes.
Which used to run right behind my house.
It's in Manhasset. This was an MTA Long Island Railroad project that they replaced this bridge, which had been on a list of needing to be replaced. We happen to have a park right there too,
Yeah. it's-
Plain Park, which is a passive park. We really fixed it up. I have got to thank our parks team. They did an amazing job. They have, with the assistance of the residents, especially Marion and Drizzy, they put a fountain into that pond.
oh, that's so nice.
They have done so many things to make it a beautiful park, and the residents
so
are really
nice.
grateful. We have to be careful about runoff into that pond.
Mhm.
We have put native plants in there, which is something I think we'll
Yeah.
probably talk about. But this Webster Avenue Bridge had to be closed for, it's really only going to be about 9 months, and they replaced the bridge. So people are going to be really excited that that's open again.
Yeah, it didn't impact too many people, but whoever it impacted
Right,
pretty big. You had to go all the way around.
right. There's 2 ways to go around that bridge, and the people on those roads were impacted.
Yeah.
But this is part of taking
Part
care
of
of
renovation,
infrastructure.
right?
You
My
have to take
kid's
care of
sleigh
it.
ride on the side of the bridge
Yeah.
coming down into the street.
Uh-oh.
When there was a snowstorm and the street was.
When there's no cars coming,
on the
yes,
street.
right.
Right.
That's right. I'll say, what? They've grown up, so
That was a long time
okay.
ago.
Yeah. He's like, make it
Actually-
clear they're grown adults now. They're not doing that yet.
1971, I moved on Lindbergh Street.
Yeah.
It was right by that bridge.
We had to be careful. We worked with the mayors of Flower Hill and Plainham Heights and the Long Island Railroad to protect that park, because a lot of heavy machinery was going in there. So we had to protect the park and also help the Long Island Railroad finish that job
Yeah.
ahead of schedule.
Wow. It's important because you said it does go back to quality life. And I think, a lot of people, it does impact you and you're frustrated, these things, but in the long run, it's like with anything, it's just, it makes such a difference. That's a lasting difference, and it's so important, especially as you're growing with your family or aging, whatever it might be. So,
And one more park to
Yeah,
mention
yeah.
before we move off is Broadway Park in Garden City Park. They've got a major renovation, also a splash pad, new playgrounds, a walking track,
wow.
lights, lighting, so everyone can enjoy it.
That's wonderful.
And
It's a very active basketball park. My grandson plays there.
oh, good.
Yeah, he plays there and the one in Westbury.
Oh, yes, we can, right?
Yes, we can, yeah. They have a lot of pickup games. They play winners, and it's kind of a place that people go
that's
who want to
great.
play basketball.
That park had been neglected for a long time. So it's nice that we're able to also use some 3TC money. This was set aside by the Long Island Railroad for municipalities to beautify, make it up to the neighborhoods that had been impacted by that construction.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so nice. I'll check
we-
it out.
it
Yeah,
was-
right.
yeah,
Well, let's
It
put
was
it
a
on our
park
list.
where people would dump their old toys. There's
Old
always kinds of the old plastic little toys that kids had.
Yeah.
They were all over the place.
oh boy.
Yeah, and people would just dump them there.
Well, now they're not.
They
now
thought
now
they were
they're
doing a
cleaning
good
it.
thing,
Yeah.
but the facts of life are it cluttered the park up pretty bad.
Yeah, well, it was a great design, and
They're
again,
not there anymore.
Yeah,
but
they're
no, I'm sure they're not
Yeah.
there.
Oh, great. Well, that's certainly on my list to check out. I actually I'm gonna star that.
Otto, I think that you have a list of things that you're going to go check out, and
Right,
I'm going to follow
right.
you on Facebook. You told me you followed me. on Facebook.
I have
I'm
to
gonna-
start publicizing. it.
Yes, I'm going to
Yes.
see what
You will
you're
see
reporting
Otto
on.
walking at Jones Beach every
I've
Sunday.
always been kind of a nosy guy. And, when I drive by a place like a park like that, I actually observe what's going on in
That's
that.
good. That's good.
And,
You're
it's-
observing. You're
that's
our
who
man
I
on the
am.
street.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're a reporter on the street.
That's
We-
good.
when I was in the sales world, all right, we would go in and I'd go in with another salesperson and we were selling at that time barcode equipment. All right. So we walk through this big distribution center because we're there to talk about barcode in the distribution center. So when we get to the other end, I would ask the salesperson, okay, what did you see? They have, I said, did you notice like the 40 boxes of the competitors' scanners that were in there, So you got to keep your eyes and ears open.
Yeah. That's good.
to What's going on?
Just another skill of Mr. Los. Otto, you always.
Kind of like being mindful.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, that's a great tool. I mean,
where
if you're
you
fully in
are.
the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that you shout it out one of our golden nuggets all the time, our mindfulness buzzword. I like how you tie
But
that
it
all in.
applies in lots of things.
It
in
does
life.
in all kinds of aspects of life.
I'm working on it in golf right now.
You'll have to update us then on that.
Have you, so speaking of golf, have you been to Harbor Links?
I have actually been playing the 9-hole
Yes.
course with my son-in-law and a couple other old cockers,
Well,
It's a new project attendance group. Yeah.
we have a new operator of Harbor Links, Kelly Brook. She's
Right.
She's done amazing.
She's amazing. She's a pro, by the way. She's a woman. She also just has an eye for things and she knows what's going on. So she brought in these robots that are delivering food and drinks, hot beverages, hot food. Anywhere you are on the golf course, you can just order it and the robot brings you the food.
Well,
But
Start golfing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm
Just
going to
well,
mark that down.
the
Too.
9-hole course is in great shape.
yes,
It's like for a senior, it's $16,
Yes.
which is a deal.
That's amazing.
And you walk. I walk that course. I can handle a 9-holer.
yes. And then she created a beer garden there.
Yes.
So this was a sort of a parking lot for golf carts. Not very attractive. She moved the golf carts to a different place and then put in benches and this sort of a lattice over.
Just
over
saying, that's why I need a
structure.
woman.
It's a woman. It's a
I mean, I
woman.
don't want to say much. But
Well, we're there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
so
it's probably not open yet.
No.
But it's got a menu, cheeseburger type menu.
that's so
They make their own fries there. And
now we have to mark that down.
Christina,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh, God.
no,
Now we
I
have
mean,
to
they
mark that.
have music. Sometimes they have live music. And so this is a resting place for after you play the 9-hole course or mini golf because it's right next to mini golf. And she reopened mini golf. It had been closed for
Now,
7
see,
years.
that's more my golfing
Yes.
sport is the mini golf.
Yes.
And we're
Well, like
Yes.
mini golf, you talk about North Hempstead Beach Park. There used to be mini golf
Yes.
there. That needs work, as you
Oh, I didn't
clearly
know that.
know.
Right. So one more thing about the
Yeah.
golf course before we address
Yeah.
that, the driving range. She has 37 stalls now. They're being used constantly.
That's
It has the technology in it now, where you can track your ball and play games and order food, and there are TVs. So it's a happening place to be. And a lot of young people are going there. Isn't that great to have young people out of their houses, put your phone down,
Yeah.
get out. It's open till 10 or 11 p.m. every night. So
Wow.
we've seen a
We're
lot.
learning a lot
I know,
today.
my
Yeah.
gosh. I
We've
know.
seen a lot of activity, and with this new contract, the better Brook Holdings does, the better the town does. So something that had been there for 25 years, we weren't making
Yeah.
money on it.
Yeah.
Now, not only is the town making revenue, which is good
Yeah.
for taxpayers, it's a place that's being used and people coming
Yeah.
together and making memories.
That's
Well,
great.
So-
there was always complaints that there were too many outings, and the people who were residents were complaining because they couldn't get tea times.
Right.
I think that's changed.
So
quite a
yes,
bit.
it has changed. She has a more of a priority sign up time for residents. They have more time before non-residents can take those things. And also, there were some people who were booking multiple times for themselves and keeping it private for their friends and then just releasing it at the last minute. That's not being allowed anymore.
Wow.
So there's definitely better
Yeah,
access.
that's great.
As for outings, sometimes they can be controlled. It can be a small outing starting at 1 p.m. That means golfers are still there all morning.
Right.
So, Kelly, in a lot of ways,
planning is
is
all-
making people happy. up
Well, I
at
mean, you
Harbor
need
Lake.
outings also because
You
they
do.
bring in money. That's
Yes, because you don't want the golf course to be vacant. You don't want it to be sitting there empty. So,
Yeah.
so the outings
You
are
did a
are
beautiful
good.
job inside.
Inside, right?
too.
Inside is stunning as well. Yeah.
I mean, I'm only inside.
Yeah. I
It's
can
so
speak on the
pretty.
inside. Look,
we
Right,
should
right.
have a golf outing sometime.
Mark it down. We'll just. We have a lot to do. We're very big. We have a lot of homework
Seriously,
assignments.
in the 9-hole golf
Okay.
course, all right?
I'll
And
do
you
it.
play a scramble where
I'll get a golf outfit. I mean, I'll mark it down.
There we go.
I mean,
Golf
sounds great.
outfit,
Sounds
yeah.
sounds
I
like a
used to
reason.
do that with customers all the time.
All right,
Whether
Otto,
you
me and
golfed
you.
or you didn't golf,
Okay.
you come out because we would just, whoever hit the good shot, everybody would go to that shot. And
Oh, that's the way to play.
Yes. And that-
Scramble.
Yeah.
That's
Ooh,
that gives
Paul,
you-
Paul
Well, that
throwing
gives
around
everybody the
terms.
chance to be out there and not care really.
Oh, all right, cool.
No.
Sign me up. Sounds great. We'll mark it down.
Project
It's a date.
Independent Scramble.
Project Independence Scramble.
There you go. We could. You might be onto something here. And before you touched upon this native plant species
Oh,
that I've
yes.
seen a lot of promotion we've talked about on the show. And I have to say, North Hempstead is always coming up with some kind of environmental friendly green initiative. I mean, there's just such
So much.
interesting, like out of the box thinking that goes on. So what's going on with this native plant species?
So there's a rebate available
Mhm.
if you purchase native plants, and it's an education too. You
Yeah.
find out
Yeah.
what is a native plant.
Right,
You'd be
right.
surprised. Some things that you see a lot, they're not native plants. And so if you purchase native plants, you can get up to $350 reimbursed. You just fill out the form.
Wow.
This was open in the spring. Now there's additional funds available, so
great.
you can
So-
apply right now. And it is still a good time to plant.
Mhm.
Something that goes along with that is invasive species.
Mhm.
So we met with Spadefoot. It's very interesting. They're using technology and education to educate, well, obviously using education to educate, but to explain, there are chemical things that happen in the soil too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So when you have invasive species, you should imagine it like concrete. It might look green, you see a whole bunch of ivy on the ground
Right,
or
right.
other types, and they refer to these as the dirty dozen.
Oh.
They're that you see frequently, but that are invasive species and that we want to eliminate. If the ground is covered with that, picture it as cement, because the water can't sink down in.
Ah.
It's not good. It's not good for the environment, for our wildlife, not at all. So if you remove it, you should replant immediately with the native species.
Mhm.
That way the invasive one doesn't come back.
Here's
So-
a scenario for you, all right?
Okay.
Oh, whoa.
My lawn people.
Oh, he's asking for lawn design.
Well, he
now.
had
Add
cancer.
this to
He
your.
had cancer, so he puts no
Chemicals.
pesticides or anything like that on the lawn. So the bottom line is, and I'm across the street from the school. So the bottom line is my lawn does not qualify for Better Homes and
Right.
Gardens.
Mine doesn't either. I don't even have sprinklers
No.
in my house.
Yeah,
We have no.
at all, all right? And I'm not good. I have a sprinkler system,
Yeah.
which I refuse to program to
Good.
be on every night.
Right.
All right. So I don't do that either.
Right.
So therefore, my lawn does not qualify for an award. All right.
No.
If I were to say, I'm going to make my lawn no longer grass, I'm going to put native plants in there,
Mhm.
how will my neighbors take that, I wonder?
I have that in my house.
I mean, it's legal, right? You're allowed to do
Are you
that.
in a village or are you in the town?
I'm in North Hempstead town,
Town. Okay.
right? No village.
This was actually in the news recently because a woman who was in the village of New Hyde Park planted a lot of
I read,
native plants and then, and not grass,
Mhm.
and
Right.
then was told that this violated the village code. So, when people move into a
Yeah.
village, they understand there are
Oh,
additional
Yeah, there's a
rules.
whole nother.
There's rules about
Yeah.
what color you can paint your
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
how you design.
Yeah.
And, villages run themselves very well. I mean, I always, hand it to them. They know their residents well. They get their building permits out quickly. They manage well. But, the trade-off is you have purchased in a place that
Nice
has
choice.
additional rules.
Right.
So in the town, I'm also in the town
Mhm.
part, and one of my neighbors planted this like pink or purple flower instead of grass.
Mhm.
And so they have no grass.
Right.
They don't have to mow it. They don't have to
That's what
water
I
it.
like.
Yeah.
But I
And
don't
it's
mow it anyhow,
beautiful.
as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We are allowed to do that. His neighbor happens to be his father, so they're not going
Yeah.
to complain. But the father still has green grass. So everything in moderation,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that
Right.
and there's the golden rule: do unto others as
Right.
you'd have them
Right.
do unto you. So, do you want your lawn to look bad, to look like weeds are growing all over the place? No.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful, I
of-
guess.
Right.
Right.
Mindful of your neighbor, your surrounding,
Yes.
right?
But
or you need a J. You need my husband. You know,
Right.
I'm lucky to have a J.
Well,
you know,
do you
who-
have grass or?
we
you
have grass,
native
but
plant?
Jay, I mean, we have like a mix of things.
He's a landscaper.
Yeah, and you know, we don't use any pesticides because of the dog.
Right.
You know,
Same here. We don't because of the
Yeah.
dog.
and you know, God forbid. I mean, that's like Easy's grass; he would be devastated. But you know, yeah. But we are approaching another break. After the break, we will continue talking about what's going on in E-Town North Hempstead with Supervisor DeSena and just celebrating our 14th anniversary. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Paula Ewell and Otto Lowe's. And we're speaking with Supervisor Jennifer DeSena all about the wonderful things going on in the town, what's to come in the town. We're just doing so many updates, and it's flying. I feel like every time you're on to it, you know, it gets faster and faster. You know, the eighth time.
Much information.
It's just
much
so
to talk about.
Yeah.
And we
so
see
many wonderful
coming
things.
through the office and everything in the paper, but when you're explaining it, it's like,
Yeah.
ah,
Actually, I
It's
know
so
I have like
nice.
so many
Yeah.
spots to check out now.
yeah.
I know that there was a fun. We were talking about the pickleball courts at Telly Park, and I know there was an event that was this week, right?
Yes.
And what was that? There was a pickleball, and it was like, what was the?
It was very interesting because, in the evening, the pickleball courts are pretty full,
Right.
especially with this glorious weather we've
Yeah.
had.
God.
So they had people from Northwell and also from like Star Rehabilitation, which is
Mhm.
part of
Yeah.
Northwell. So they were there talking about stretching. There's something for everyone. And I spoke with a lot of people. Some people who came by don't play pickleball.
Mhm.
They just came to hear about fall prevention. So, and I know that's something you do through Project
Yeah.
Independence, but there was someone there talking about balance and fall prevention. And, but there was someone doing stretching. There was someone, talking about, physical therapy, an ER doctor who had created this.
The walking program, the doctor with the, oh no, I'm thinking
No,
something
he
else.
had a thing that you hang from a doorway and it has a pickleball on it and you can practice it. So, you can practice inside and it's something fun you could do at work. I brought one. I said I was going to put it up in my office. Practice my pickleball. But it was just another opportunity to bring people together in our park, give them some useful information to, help them avoid, a hamstring tear or
All of it, yeah.
falling down.
Well,
So
Interesting you bring that up because I know several people who were seniors who injured themselves
yeah,
playing
playing pickleball. Well, and
Me too.
I think
Yeah.
that's why they
Broke
do.
their wrist.
Yes,
You know.
they knew that there was interest in this because everybody wants to play pickleball,
You want to do it
but you
safely,
have to be
yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of afraid to play pickleball because I am competitive by nature.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you'd be afraid of losing.
Well, I know, no, probably. No, I think I'd probably be afraid of the fact that I still
You'd go
think I'm,
too, right?
25 years old and I'm going to run all over the court and do what I have to do to win. All right. Yes.
Yes.
He said,
Like,
he said you hit the nail on
But
the
we're
head.
going to
yes.
have a
Yeah.
pickleball professional on our
I was
show.
just thinking the same thing. I'm really excited.
couple of
Yeah.
Yes, our pro. So
Yep.
I met
Yeah.
him in the summer. He came to every project, every Fun Day Monday.
Yes.
He was there at 9 a.m.
Mhm.
teaching people. So last year I went to a lot of them at 9 a.m. and I learned to play pickleball.
Yeah, I'm so excited because
Well, I'm
Have
going to
you played
go
pickle-
play pickleball.
I've never played. No,
I'm
I've
going
never
to play
played.
before that show with two grandsons.
Okay, good. I like it. See, I like the
So
research.
then
you're
I
doing.
won't be competitive.
Yes.
We'll just play.
Yeah, you're just gonna play with your grandsons. So yeah,
Yeah.
Now you say this now, marketing with
Just
John
so
Air.
I can say I play. I used to play, racquetball,
Yeah.
paddleball, handball,
Mhm.
all those games.
Well, listen, you might have something that you love. You gotta.
Well, I
can
probably
see.
would like pickleball. I played tennis when I was young.
Yes, you
Tennis-
definitely would like it, and you would like to be out and seeing people, and
Yeah.
that's the thing about
Social,
pickleball is
yeah.
that a
Yeah, the
lot of
social
people
part.
are there.
Well, I mean, tennis is a great sport also, but it also requires to me a lot more skill.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to play it more to make
Right.
it enjoyable.
Yeah,
know,
you
so
have
you
to be
don't
able to
hit the-
hit that forehand from
Yeah.
the back of the
And,
court. You really
and
need
there's
some
a lot
strength.
more moving
Yes.
in tennis than there is in pickleball. Just naturally, the court is bigger.
Yes.
The ball goes faster. It's a different game.
Yeah, I just remember, as reflecting when this show, and this was many years ago, when pickleball just started to be like chatted about, and I remember talking about it on the show. We're like, pickleball. Remember, we were like, what is
Right.
Well, that was an old people's sport.
Yeah, right.
beginning.
It was. It's
Yeah.
so true. And now I'm telling you, I have friends. People are playing it. I mean, like it's just like an all age kind of.
Well,
thing
here's the deal, then we're going to have
now. Okay, we're gonna
9
golf.
holes.
Okay. Okay.
golf in the
He's
morning.
got me booked. He's got my weekends booked.
Pickleball,
We need a
outing
robot
in
to
the
bring
afternoon.
drinks
All right.
to the pickleball.
That's right.
and in between.
And then we'll get like
the
dinner
beer
at some
garden.
point, right?
Right.
We'll do dinner, at a North Hempstead restaurant. And I think we could just do like our tour. We could videotape it too, on the road with Otto and Kristina, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just remember, and then just to see, how much, I mean, like I go into a store and there's like, pickleball merch and, all kinds of stuff now. And that's what really intrigued me. But I just think it's so wonderful. And when I met, I think his name is Frank.
Yes.
I think is actually his name.
Frank.
And, he was like, I'd love to come on the show and just talk about the benefits. And I'm like, yeah. So,
He came when we were at the
Yeah, a national night out. Yeah.
And
He
and
came.
he can give you some guidelines too. Of,
Yeah.
should you avoid pickleball if you
Right,
have an
right,
ankle problem or a
right.
knee problem?
Yeah.
You don't want to exacerbate
No.
something.
No, and you really see, and it's like another thing. North Hempstead clearly realized how much people are enjoying that, and now it's incorporated. I mean, it's so utilized at Tully Park at CGM.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
people are playing.
early in the
so,
morning.
yeah.
Early in the morning, when you get to work, there's people playing.
Well, what has been a big change is that it's not just an older people's game.
No.
Yeah,
Now,
it's got
Lots
friendly.
lots of younger people
Yeah, the
playing.
fact that your
Yeah.
My
grandsons want to play with you.
Yeah.
25 and
Yeah.
31 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear about your
Well, this
pickleball.
could be exciting.
He said, well, you just wait. Post some pictures of it on Facebook.
That's right. That's right, Otto. I need video footage of this.
I'm not sure where to play, though.
Oh,
I'm-
well,
it-
tell me.
Tell me.
Well, here's the problem. And Tully, truthfully,
Yeah.
I'm a resident.
Mhm.
And one of the grandsons is a resident. The other one, well, he did live in Mineola. So each person needs a pass, right?
We modified our guest policy this year.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
So a resident can bring a non-resident with them. They have,
One non-resident.
I don't
Because
know exactly
one
the number.
One
Yeah.
grandson is a resident.
Okay, so you see the one.
The other one
Fine,
was a
pretty good.
resident. Roslyn. No, he's in Roslyn now. That's
He's still a resident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a town.
so we just need to go get a permit,
Yep. You go
Right.
get a pickleball pass
right? And you get that where?
over at Tully.
Oh, in the office.
Yes, inside.
Upstairs.
You might be able to do it outside because they have a sort
Oh,
of
they
a
got
booth
that
over there.
off.
I don't know if you can do it in there or that's just where they check the passes.
Right.
But definitely at Tully, you can get the pickleball
Oh.
pass.
Well, I can't wait to hear Otto. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm waiting to play against
Yeah.
you.
I know. I'm going to have to practice too. You're going to have the upper hand, and then we're going to really have well, Mark, we'll do it during lunch, we'll have a lunch break. So also I know that Mary Jo Collins, who's the receiver of taxes, she was so great. She came to our meeting and gave us some updates. I think we all know that these tax, it's like, it's the cycle and we're always trying to get the word out and all the assessments and whatnot. So I know you've been going around with her around the town.
Yes. And I want to brag for Mary
Yeah.
Jo also. She managed the money. The way the receiver of taxes office works is she collects the taxes and then at different times, she pays them to the schools, to wherever they need to go.
Okay.
So it's in and out. While it's in there, she is actively managing it. She just, she's a businesswoman and she said, well, I feel some obligation to do a good job here. She made so much more money just managing which banks are offering a better deal. That's it. When she gave the money to the schools, when she paid the schools this year, some of them had 200% more from her management. So she has done so much to streamline, to offer additional ways to pay. One of them is she was collecting taxes at Fun Day Monday this summer.
Yeah.
So, once you remember that, it was new this year. So I don't know the exact number of how many people did it, but her staff was there every Monday and they collected taxes. And we're in an age where people know there are scammers. There's so many scammers out there.
Yeah.
You don't want to put your check in a mailbox.
Yeah.
You can't.
She
She brought that up at our advisory. Yeah.
They use a mailbox
Yeah.
anymore. I also just did a program with the district attorney, and they talked about how you can use a certain pen that can't be washed, because they're doing check washing now.
Oh my God.
So, it's amazing how many things come together with, protecting our seniors.
Yeah.
We're
Absolutely.
offering them education about how to avoid being a victim of fraud and ways that they can avoid, such as paying your taxes in person in many places, also avoiding a penalty by paying them on time.
Right.
So
this is not a town thing, but just read this morning, actually, I think it was, Social Security will no longer send out paper checks. There's 800,000 people, I think, that still get checks,
And that's
paper
been a
checks.
process, right, Otto?
And they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
anymore. You're going to have a direct deposit. So that's going to be complicated for some people.
Yes.
it is.
There are
yes.
people in, the older group that may not even have a computer.
Well, guess who I think might be able to help them?
I think Project Independence might have to.
Project Independence, because this always happens.
Well,
There's
that's a good
technology,
point.
Right. the
people
shifts,
resist
right.
change,
Right.
including me. I resist change, but with a little help, you
Good
can
point,
get
that-
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you?
Right.
What did they say a date? I'll take a look.
They did, and I don't remember it. It's in today's Newsday.
Oh, okay.
I know it's been
Yeah.
coming, but
But I think
Yeah.
it was 800,000 people still
Yeah,
get,
no, it's
which is not a lot percentage-wise, considering
but
how
it's
many
probably
people.
that cohort.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
senior,
I think it's
I
like
bet you it is.
5% or less.
Yeah, but and then Mary Jo too, which was lovely. She brought her little bags, and there's a little QR code on
Yeah.
there that brings you to such information. And I was so taken, because it's so complicated.
Mhm.
We've had Mary Jo on the show, and she really explained things so well. Because I'm like, what are these exemptions? You're trying to figure that. Do I qualify? And I really encourage people to reach out, because she's so aware of all the county exemptions and what you can qualify. And she was saying too, there's so many people that just don't take advantage for certain things that they do qualify for them. So we're all trying to save money,
Right.
at the
Right,
end of
every
the day.
dollar,
Yeah.
every dollar counts.
It absolutely
Well,
makes a
major
difference.
to me is Enhanced Star.
Mhm.
People who retired 20, 25 years ago maybe were making good money,
Right.
but nowadays
Yeah, they need
that's not good money
right.
anymore. And you could qualify easily for Enhanced
Yeah.
Star,
Right.
which is
If you once
that's
you
a-
turn 65,
yeah.
and it still is income determinative,
Yeah.
there's
Right.
there's cutoffs, but the difference is substantial. It's a much bigger exemption than the regular
Mhm.
Star.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
25 years ago, if you got $100,000 income, you were doing okay. Today,
Mm.
100,000 is sort of on the edge.
Right, doesn't go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm happy that for the past 3 years, we were able to cut town taxes.
Mhm.
So even though the school taxes
Right.
is the bigger
It is,
chunk
yeah.
of what
Yeah.
you're paying, we found economies of scale. And, that's also by doing things like, the road paving in in an organized and efficient way. Lighting, we are going to put LED lighting right throughout the whole town. This is something that, they started talking about over 10 years
Yeah.
ago, but it didn't
Mhm.
get done. So now we have, in some neighborhoods, I don't know if you've seen it in New Hyde Park, but in Manhasset Hills, I have seen streets where we have the LED lights, and it's very pretty. Again,
Mm.
talk about the resistance
Yeah.
to change. You think, oh, bright lights.
Right,
We have bright
right.
lights in this studio, but they're very pretty. And the truth is, those old lights are not lighting
Yeah.
very well.
yeah.
I know I had
And
one on my
that's so
block, and it
important.
literally
Yeah.
provided no. I'm like,
No,
what
I mean
is
they're
the
orange.
point?
They're
Yeah,
not
right,
really
right.
they're not really providing that
Yeah.
much light. So these are very pretty, and they're being done throughout the whole town right now.
And even the safety component of
I was
it,
just gonna say, the
they're
full
right.
range.
They're
Yeah,
The
right.
last 13 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's good for
Maintenance-wise,
safety.
nobody has to climb up and
Yes,
change.
that's
bulbs.
right. So we're using less labor to
Mm.
change the lights. We're using less energy because
Mhm.
they're more
Right.
efficient, and we have safer streets because
Increasing
they're
safety.
well lit.
Could I just clarify something I think is important for people to understand? You said that the tax reduction, people will look and say, oh, yeah, there's
I
a
know.
tax reduction. Well, my taxes went up. How do you
Right,
explain
right.
that? And I think it's important for people to understand that there's town tax and there's school tax.
Exactly.
And-
When you get your tax bill,
Yeah.
there's several components in it. And I believe there's 38 special districts that
Yeah.
also have budgets. So, there's There's the fire districts, there's the water districts, libraries, garbage, and each area of the town has, you may live in a different district. There's even villages.
Right.
So the components of your tax bill are different.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you might not, your bottom line might not be lower, but thanks to the town bill being smaller, your total is lower,
Right.
is lower than it would have been.
Yeah.
So,
That's
very,
certainly
and
important.
because a dollar's a dollar, and if it
Yeah,
should stay in
of
your
course,
pocket,
yeah.
if you earned it, you keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then what is nice, obviously today, if you're listening to us live, it still feels very much like summer. It's like I'm like, I love to go to the beach right now. But it's festival season. Fall will be
Yes.
here, and the town North Hempstead. That's what I love too about doing this show and doing our newsletters, because I'm constantly finding out
aware
about
of
the
what we're
stuff that's
doing.
going on, and it's so much. I was laughing with Paula. It was like last week. I was like, oh my god, there's another new program. Like, it was just there's so much. You really can't be bored in the town North Hempstead.
No.
Essentially, is like should be the motto.
It's very active.
And so the first one, which is one of my favorite ones because it's so good for all ages, is the Fall Fest, the Fall
Yes.
Family Fest. Because I've, in the past too, I brought my little nieces
Yeah.
there and they loved it. And then it's just for everyone. And it just has like a nice positive vibe. So that's coming up.
Yes. And that will be up at North Hempstead Beach Park. There's activities for kids, blow up things to climb in. There's pumpkins. And we just have to pray for weather.
Right.
Yeah.
So
The birdhouses are for?
Yes. That's what
You
it's
have-
like.
if you
Community
keep going,
service, community
it's very
services
funny.
was very busy, with
Putting
these little
people
like
in the-
birdhouses. Yeah, that I think will be somehow be incorporated, these wooden birdhouses to color or whatever.
This is not in the town, but there is a place in Little Neck, the farm, Queen's Farm,
Yeah, that's.
has a corn maze
oh, that sounds fun.
that I go to every year with a bunch of the family.
Oh, I like
And we
that.
split up into teams. We compete.
The low season, exactly. So you
Oh
turn
my
that.
gosh.
You turn that
Who's
into a
going to
tough-
win?
yeah.
Usually boys versus girls.
Oh,
And the
that's
girls
fun.
always win.
And the girls always win.
Yeah.
I really like
Where
that.
they cheat.
Yeah. Yeah. So that town has a lot of events in the fall. It's also street fair season.
Yeah,
So
right.
the New Hyde Park Street Fair is tomorrow. The Williston Park Street Fair is Sunday. The following weekend, I know there will be, I don't know, but they're every weekend. Mineola Street Fair is coming up, and so this is a time when our local businesses can be out there and promoting what they have. They maybe set up a booth, in Williston Park, one of the restaurants puts out this massive paella pot, and they're cooking, and it's,
Oh, that's so
it's,
nice.
5 feet,
Right.
across, and it's just a lot of fun. So
And it's just so nice. I love a street fair because I think it's just fun to see all the local businesses, and it's like my favorite place, Of course, it goes back to shopping
Shopping,
somehow.
I was gonna
Shopping and
say,
food,
yeah.
so sign me up. But it is, and it is so like fall,
Yes.
to have those things. And of course, then Halloween. I mean, the town of North Hempstead has the Halloween
God.
senior dances.
right.
2 of those, Clingy Martin Park, Fushilla.
Halloween, hot dogs.
The cutest. I already got my dog.
You did?
My dog he's going to be Jaws. He got a little shark costume because he is a little shark. I tried on him yesterday, which was quite exciting. But there's Halloween. There's the spooky, not so spooky
yes.
walk, which is very near and dear to my
love
heart.
Spooky Walk.
Beautiful.
Because Spooky Walk, I have a photo from when I must have been like 5 or 6, and with my cousins, and my mom had brought, it's a little Polaroid. It's like so cute and vintage, and it says Spooky Walk, and it's like the town, and it was just, and because I used to go all the time as a kid there, and it's so nice to see that it's still going on, and I always opted for Spooky Walk. I was
Of
too
course,
cool for not so
course.
Spooky Walk.
Polaroid is coming back.
Oh, I know, I have it.
Polaroid.
What's coming
Oh, yeah,
back? Polaroid.
Polaroid.
Really?
Christina
Yeah.
has it.
Oh, I Polaroid all
It's
the
like a
time.
Has it.
gimmick now, and a lot
Right,
of
yeah.
younger people
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Polaroid.
Yes.
Because you can get a printed picture right
Right.
away.
Yep.
My daughter put that for her wedding gift list.
Really.
She got it too.
Yeah.
Somebody got it for her.
It's the great
Yeah,
thing.
it's
It's
like
so
a
fun.
thing.
Isn't it
Yeah.
funny how old things come back?
Yeah.
Retro.
Totally.
Makes
Well,
you-
I
it
mean-
all
I never
never
throw
throw anything out.
No, I
That's
know.
that's what I say to my husband.
Right.
I said, Jay, I'm just
Christina.
saving us money because it's gonna come back around.
Well, if you
Oh
think
my
about
gosh,
it,
look at
there's
this.
Like
We're
10,000 2,000 pictures in here.
I know.
No way you can look at them.
I hear you, my friend. But
Wow.
we have covered so many things. We are at the end. I cannot believe it. I would like to thank Supervisor Jennifer DeSena for joining us, telling us all about the town and celebrating our 14th anniversary.
Yes, congratulations.
I think you're just topping it every show. I mean, we're getting more and more information, and each time you're
Yeah, I'm
here.
just listening.
I know. I have so many notes. I would like to thank everyone who listened, and stay tuned next. We will be doing Talk of the Town, talking all things anniversary. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio, celebrating our 14th anniversary of this incredible show. Before the break, I was giving all my thank yous. And of course, I started to cry. I really was like, there's no way I'm going to cry. I'm going to be totally fine. It said Dan's name, she cried.
Right. Dan.
But Paula, which I can't even
No
begin
crying with
to
me.
say with you, I started my career with Paula over 15 years ago, and I was just a baby social worker, and here we are today. I mean, I'm so lucky to have had like a friend, my work mom, and just my mentor, and you're all things that a social worker should be. And I was lucky.
Well,
I got to
Back
learn.
at you. I got
I
one.
got to learn.
I got one.
well, chemistry between people who work together is, to me, critical. And I've worked for many
Yes.
people that I didn't really enjoy working for.
Right. We had the extra bonus of working, as a supervisor
Yeah.
mentor for a year before
Yeah.
Kristina even became part of
No, and
our
I think
staff.
too, what was
So
so
we
exciting.
already
It's
had
like,
it all
and
set.
PI was just being like
We
born,
would just create-
yeah,
yeah.
it's just so
You were
many
there for
things. that
all
were
of
cool.
it, right?
Well, I
It's
think
just
a big thing
exciting.
is that you're not competing with each other.
No,
all right?
no.
Like I've been in so many
No,
corporate
we come
situations
in
where
together.
Yeah.
people are worrying about their own butt,
No,
and they will do pretty much whatever they can do
yeah.
to get forward.
No,
what,
Collectively,
you
you
know,
want to do what you do, and you
absolutely.
both do it great. So,
no, and we
No.
both
No.
really love Project Independence.
Yes.
And that's what
well, that's
it's
why
just,
it works. Like
it's
it
just like
works, so.
it's
Yeah.
not, it's such a unique, special program, and to be part of it, and I love talking about it to people, and I just think like it's just having that is just such a lifeline for so many people, and it just really touches everyone. So to be a part of that is like the
Well,
ultimate goal.
we've been talking.
So also at this show over many years, and of course we've had so many wonderful people that were a part of it. Evelyn Roth, who was, the grandmother of Project Independence, that, started this program, with me, and did so many wonderful shows, and really threw me into the trenches with it. So shout out to Ev.
Yeah, we used to
Shout
do
out-
3 or 4 guests.
Oh,
And I remember we
gosh.
were like, we can't even. You're like do an introduction,
You
and
do
by the time
15
it's like
minutes.
right, it's done. Yeah.
And if you look back on it, that was
Uh-huh.
not a good thing.
No, there's a lot,
Yeah.
but it's all about we were checking,
Well,
what would
get
work.
any
Right.
depth,
Yeah, right.
you know,
We wanted more of the depth
Right.
and nitty gritty. That's right.
put more meat on.
And
the
I
bone.
remember that
Right.
was, and then Talk of This Town was actually born out of the fabulous, who you will still hear his incredible voice on the show every Friday,
Yeah.
John Ryan, who was the most incredible man. Of course, this is gonna start me again, and he just, if any of you knew him, you were lucky.
John was one of the best
Just
men
people,
I
just
met
people.
in my
It's-
life.
Really.
Uh,
And what I loved, he was the number one fan of everyone. I mean, he was just, anything I did was the greatest thing in the world.
he was a very, very,
And
very good man.
It was just so special to spend time with him. And the show really developed with John, which was really cool.
Yeah.
We took it to a totally different level. He insisted that I
Totally.
did a Talk of the Town hour segment. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know John. He's like, no, come on, there's so much good stuff to talk about. You got it. It'll be fun. And I remember he gave me this whole,
Remember what we called it in those days? The Kristina.
All right.
that is, there is mugs, available. That I do drink my coffee out of all the time. But it was just, great. And it really was such a great part of the show because, obviously the first hour you really want to talk to the guests and, you don't, because I think we went from the 15, then we were doing like half
Half an
hours,
hour.
right, Dan? We were doing like a half-hour interview, I think. And I think that John was like, he was really pushing for like the hour because he was the king of really getting to the depth of people and finding
It's
out
just
why
wonderful.
people
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
involved in certain things. And then, the second hour, which really became such an asset, which is my favorite part because we get to just like, yap, which is just so fun. But we get to really talk about all the wonderful
Yes.
stuff that is going on in the
Well,
town.
how
of
many
Hempstead.
hours of that show have we done? Like I've got a recap
know?
from you about all
I
of
think it's since 2015-ish. Talk of the Town's really fun. And those were some of my favorite too, because the like COVID archives, as stressful as life was, during that time, it's, that's when we really kind of had this like counseling, support group
that
going
was a
on.
therapy
It
session.
really was. And it got me through like a lot,
Yeah.
and it was just, you felt more comfortable. And I would say to John all the time, like, I would leave the show just feeling good. And that was like the best part.
Right,
Like, I would be like, I feel like good. I feel like
Right.
lighter, this
Right.
was really nice. So, that's what's cool about the radio. I always say it's like a time capsule in life. I mean, we had an earthquake on the show,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
which was, crazy.
Quite by accident.
Yeah, and I like that Otto just kept powered through, powered right through the
It's
earthquake.
okay.
I was looking at Dan like, oh my God. And then I want to give a shout out to Rebecca Miller, who was our host also.
Yay, Beck.
And I was thinking about Beck's face when that was going on, and she looked like completely panicked. And I was like, everything's fine. Nothing's happening. But it's just so great. And to really have seen also the transformation, I say this, and I feel like more and more each year it becomes even more so that it's not, obviously we have a lot of senior issues and we're senior based, we're project independent, but it really became, this community resource for people because people are not only, caring for someone, that is that, or they're aging themselves, and a lot of our topics are just beneficial for anyone,
Right.
These health topics. We had a lot of entertainment, which is fun. I'm glad that we have incorporated over the time, because one of my favorite guests with this brought me to, that's my favorite part is going through all these shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know it was this year, was Bea Franklin, aka Busy Bee, who was our Nassau County resident and centenarian, and she just gave us words of wisdom from a centenarian, and that was in
That's great.
November.
Wow.
And I loved every second of it.
Is
That's
she
a
the
show.
one who suggested to PT that they take her to every room
Yes,
and teach
Yep.
her how to get up
Yes.
if she fell in that room?
which
Yes.
really
No,
stuck
it's
with us.
Very
Right.
practical piece of
Right.
information.
Nobody, I've never heard that. I've never heard
No,
of that.
because it
No.
really makes
It
sense.
makes
Because
sense. Right.
a lot of times, and I actually remember we had to do something similar with my grandpa, when we were putting grab bars on
Mhm.
his, by his bed, because we said, like, where do you grab?
Right.
Because, you could estimate,
Yeah.
because that might not be, it's
Right.
different for everyone. Like, where I grab is going to probably be different than where my,
Yep,
a taller person
absolutely.
grabs. So it's, I
Busy Bee.
remember
Was
that.
Busy Bee?
Busy Bee was just
Great.
absolutely
Well,
incredible. I
if we're gonna
loved her.
talk about shows.
Yeah, tell me.
Uh,
Give me some of your faves.
The one that struck me as being very different for
Mhm.
our show
Okay.
was when we had Sarah Glass on,
Oh.
who survivor tips for leaving unhealthy relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And she was the person who was raised Orthodox Jewish, and she told her story and ultimately discovered she was also a lesbian, which was definitely a much deeper
Right.
life philosophy stuff than we were
Wow.
used to. But
Yeah.
I found it really interesting, and the fact that this lady was willing to talk about it,
Yeah.
about things that we wouldn't really get or understand.
Right.
Well,
Well,
No,
I think that's the atmosphere here.
Yeah.
Is very comfortable.
Well, that's what
atmosphere.
was.
Yeah.
People
That's
are nervous at first.
Yeah.
Come in, you can
Right.
see if
It's
they're
like, I
nervous.
promise,
and
they're having a great time.
doctors and professional people, and then like within 5 minutes or so, they just chatting away, and you observe it, and you can just see people.
Well, I remember with Sarah, what was
Conversation.
because that was so striking to me, that interview. And I remember it was just so engaging. And we did over Zoom with her because she was like in the city. And I remember, Otto, like, you were just like asking her just like candid questions. Like you said, like, listen, like, I'm, not sure if this term's allowed to be you were just like asking her like general, and it was just so cool to see, because we always say that, there are a lot of problem in society is, that younger people aren't, they want to communicate with an older person. Oh, like, I just, we don't get each other. We speak two different language, and it's never having these like honest, open conversations. And you certainly have that with your children and grandchildren, and great grandchildren, frankly, now, so it was just, I remember sitting back and like, this is so cool. They get to have this dialogue. And she said afterwards, she was like, thank you so much for asking that, like from her point of view. And it was just, it always just really like struck me that it was just
well, I mean, the topic was survival tips for leaving an unhealthy relationship. She was leaving all kinds of unhealthy relationships. She was forced to get married. She was forced to have children. She was forced to, like happens in many, many different religions in life, you're forced to believe what is told to you. And then all of a sudden one day she realized that wasn't her, and I found
and she's giving back to other people because she wrote this book, and then she does like therapist, she has like she treats people that are going
trauma therapist and author.
Yeah, that was definitely a really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I found that to be, that was
that's the best part about this show. I said like it's great. We've all been to a presentation where someone's got their PowerPoint and it's great. You're like. But I feel like I've always been, the best part is to actually be able to, hear it in a conversation, and that's how you learn. We're celebrating our 14th anniversary on LIU Public Radio. We're talking about our favorite memories, what the show has meant to us over the years, and it's just really, really cool. Otto, do you have any other segments that popped into your brain?
I bring it up all the time, and I've told people this one, and I'm not sure when it was. I think it was like 2019 when we were doing veterans, and I bring this up every year because it really registered in my mind. And the one where this guy was in the army, he was in France, and I think he might have been like a private or whatever, and his name is in here somewhere, but they run across this big trench, like a foxhole trench kind of thing, and his sergeant tells him to go down the trench and see what's going on down there. All right. And he goes down this trench with a gun in hand, and he gets to the other end and he confronts a German soldier also with a gun in hand. They look at each other and they turn around and go the other way. And to me, that was like,
so powerful.
That tells me what I believe about war, frankly. Most people don't want to be there. The people who set up these
and you
wars
don't want
so young, and
it's in a nice posh building somewhere. And there's two people who have no idea what they might have done for each other's life.
Yeah.
What
what that one moment did.
Yeah, right.
What children might not
one
have
shot
been
the other. It would have changed.
No, and that was actually this year, which was one of my tops from this year. We had on John Kelly and Patrick McCaffrey, who were with Northwell Health Military Liaison. And I remember just like, I absolutely, first of all, they were just like a good time. So we had like a lot of laughs. But it was just so incredible to hear their story, and then how they got involved in like, the social work services for veterans. And that's, and that's really my favorite thing. And that's something that, I mentioned earlier that John really got, which really stuck in my head is because like, no matter what the topic, he had, to find out why you got to in that job, and that was always the most interesting story. And that's why I love when we have, an interesting person on that we're kind of just talking, because it's like finding how someone ended up in a certain place or career choice, and is always so interesting. And it's, and I feel like sometimes they're shocked to like, verbalize it and be like, oh my gosh, like I actually, made a lot of like, moving around.
Well, they were involved with Northwell Health Military Liaison Services, which I didn't realize, but they really help.
I reached out to
veterans
them for a family member, and they were amazing. It didn't quite fit the category of the concern, but they got right back to me and try this. They were really amazing.
So it's like, like
people like to talk about what they do. How often do you get to actually sit down and have a conversation with people about this is what I do, this is why I do?
I know we laugh because sometimes we're like in a meeting where we're trying to explain Project Independence, and I'll be like listening to Paula talk, and I'll be like,
Kristina, can you take the
baton? But like, it was just, you just like, you never get to like really sit back and reflect, and you're like, wow, like, this is a great program. It's like you just get those moments, and that's how I feel when I prepare. But speaking of things, Otto, you have, because I love a stat. You have been part of 292 new shows with multiple guests. You have interviewed 480 guests.
Yeah, when I read that.
And I want you to rattle them all off right now. And
When
you are
I-
a guest 3 times as well,
Yeah.
which is incredible. And Paula, Paula was a guest on the show 16 times, which is very impressive. You might be the highest rating guest on the show.
Okay.
You were a co-host 29 and 39 different topics and guests you have. And I have to give a shout out to Paula. She's so busy with so many things and, agreed to, be the third to our little trio here.
Something new is every day. Like you don't know. That's the thing with what we do. We don't know what's going to come across our office today.
Yeah.
We don't know what the problem could come up that someone's really struggling with. And, you kind of, you forget that you're here to help with any of those things. So when they happen, it's such a good feeling when they get settled,
But what it was a great segment, talk about money and trying to, what I loved, we had on Richard Landsman, who is the president of Notting Hill Capital, a senior himself.
Yeah.
And he talked about increasing investment income for seniors. And he really just did it in normal human terms.
Yeah.
That you could
okay. No good terms.
Yes.
Right.
I actually copied that day, the notes from that.
Yes, I have that in my
Put it a
golden
folder,
nugget. Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was, I
Yeah.
remember it was such an incredible interview.
Yeah, that was really.
And it was so beneficial. That was like another segment, like whether you are a senior, or, to start
Right,
young and
anybody
thinking
can
about
get-
these
right,
things.
Absolutely.
And he could just like rattle off these questions. And
When was that?
that was on March 14th, 2025.
Wow.
Was that show. And then, of course, in May, we had on who I think was her second time on the show, which was just always so powerful, is Susan Caperso, who's the end of life doula, a legacy creator. And she talked about preserving your legacy and just the personal stories of that. Her story is so incredible. So I really recommend people check that out and think about doing that.
Yeah.
It's such a gift that she does for people. And I mean, it was just to hear like the vignettes and where it was just I remember just sitting there, probably crying, shocker. But it was really just an incredible thing this year that we got to do.
Yeah,
and of course, on our own thing, we had, our Unwritten Stories group, the story round that we had
that
on.
was
They'll
good
actually
too.
be back on in December with the goal of having some of the participants to like read
great.
their poems that they did. But that was cool too, because it is a new way of expressing yourself and preserving it all falls into preserving your legacy and the therapeutic nature of it. I remember like so much with my grandpa, he wanted to talk about his life and his photography. I mean, that to me, that was my grandpa's whole world,
Right. Yeah.
and so like he just wanted people to frankly listen. It could have been anyone.
Right,
He didn't
right.
anyone. If you sat down and like let Tasso,
Right.
give you some stories, and it was just, it made such a difference, and that's like the case with so many people that you meet, you're reflecting, and as you get older, you reflect even more on certain things. And
That's
I
true.
think
You do. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I do,
Yeah.
but even
Yeah.
with myself, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
like,
start
it's
thinking
just,
about it. Right.
it happens. I mean, listen, I'm
Right.
always kind of, a softy reflector all the time, but, I do find, and I'm so cognizant of that, because a lot of times, like I say, oh, here he is again, talking about the same thing. That was always like my call out my cousins, but it was like, oh my God, he's at it again, and it was just like, but like, I was like, but like that, just let her off. I always thought it was the first time I heard it. Like never heard it before. I would just be like, oh, we'll go down this road. But it's like, so being part of these classes or journaling,
Right.
you're able to do that.
Especially
And
the
I think it's
creative
just,
arts we've been
yeah,
bringing,
that
human
I think that's
service
such a cool part.
journaling
Absolutely.
and story writing and
Yeah.
storytelling.
We're going to be doing
poetry writing.
scrapbooking. We have a
This-
scrapbooking program,
That's
which
gonna
is
be
very
brand new.
cool.
one of the things, like in my situation, when you reflect on life and you look back, first it started with the corporate world. And I'm saying there is no way what I learned during my 50, 60 years of selling systems and whatnot couldn't be injected into anybody. It's just an experience
Yeah.
that
Right.
I got that, it's there,
Mhm.
right?
That's
And then
it.
you throw life experience on top
Mhm.
of that. And if you're the type that pays attention to what's going on in your life, you're
Yeah.
going to learn a
lot.
lot. All right. So I always tell my grandchildren and my children,
Yeah.
I said, look, I'm getting older and I don't know, the do-diddle band or whoever.
Right.
I said, but never treat me as stupid.
No.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I don't know something or other.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know how to use Xbox or
Right.
whatever.
Mm.
Right. Right.
There are other things I know that you haven't got a prayer to
And
know.
you'll
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
think that brings a
Right.
mutuality
Yeah. Yes.
of respect. All right.
Yeah.
I respect the fact that they know stuff I don't know,
Right.
Mhm.
and I can learn from them.
But see, but
But
that's
that's the key.
But
that-
don't
that is
ignore-
the key, yeah.
Everybody
Don't
knows
ignore the
that.
fact that I know a few
Right.
things too.
Right.
You know, and I think that's important for people who are old. Don't treat them like they're dummies.
Right. Yeah.
No, but I think you're right, because, and you always say this, is about the mutual kind of respect. And, it's important on both sides to be open and, be aware of like that you come with certain skills and that your younger grandchild might come with a different set of skills, but it's like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, it's like always like the thing. And I think being aware of that is just so much better, because I know a lot of times, people like lose patience, my brother will sometimes lose patience, because he's very tech savvy. And if my parents don't know something, he loses patience. We'll be back next week talking about caring from the heart, geriatric care consultants. There'll be great topics coming up. I want to thank everyone for listening, whether you're a new fan or an old fan. Check it out. Call 311 if you have a suggestion. Thank you, everyone. This is Project Independence, Talk of the Town.
you,
I'd like to
Kristina.
thank Paula,
Yeah.
Otto, Dan, everybody. Tune in next week on Friday, 10 a.m., LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a good weekend.